Hello, YouTubers, friends, compatriots, bootlicker shills, debt slaves, search peasants, vassals, minions, meat sacks. I'm Useful Idiot. Welcome. And so, Trump, the peace president, as people that have watched me regularly know, I have issues that I'm on board with Trump, and other issues I'm not on board with. And I know that might be confusing to some people, but I don't really have any personality issues with Trump. I just analyze his policies and I watch what he says and what he does, and sometimes they're different. And so I'm perfectly happy to call out Trump when I think he's off, and I'm also willing to give him praise when he's on. But this whole idea that he's the peace president, I'm getting the idea that he decided that, or someone told him that he was a peace president because during his first term he was one of the first presidents to not start a war. But I'm coming to the realization that it was the fact that he didn't have an opportunity, not necessarily that he was against it, because we're seeing that now. And so he's hardly the peace president, as it turns out. One of the issues I've noticed is that he seems to have so much sympathy for all the people that are dying in the Ukraine-Russia war, but he has no sympathy whatsoever about all the Palestinians who are being killed. So there's no blanket empathy for people who are dying. So he's not necessarily a peace president in that way, being selective about who he feels bad for and who he doesn't. And now we have the fact that it looks like within a few weeks or a few months, it looks like Trump may bomb Iran. And there are an agreement has been put forth, or actually direct negotiations with Iran have been put forth, and Iran doesn't want to have direct negotiations, although they're willing to have indirect negotiations to come up with a inspection plan for keeping an eye on Iran's nuclear programs. And of course, part of the irony here is that Trump is the one that canceled the previous agreement during his first administration so that we would be able to keep up on and have inspections of Iran's nuclear program. So he canceled that program, and now he wants to negotiate for a new one. So no wonder Iran is having issues. They don't feel like they can trust the Trump administration because they had an agreement. He canceled it, and now he wants to create a new one. And so we have this very clear statements by Trump that they need to negotiate or the bombing will begin and it will be substantial. And of course, one of the things we have to put into consideration is that there's a agreement between China, Russia, and Iran now, some a security agreement. And it doesn't necessarily guarantee that Russia would step in if Iran was attacked. But the U.S. is counting on that now not happening, and it's not necessarily something that can be ruled out. But we have Trump talking about bombing Iran, and for someone who didn't start any wars during his first administration, to start one of this magnitude will make up for that for sure. So we have that, and then we have the fact that he's talking about that military invasion of some sort is still on the table for acquiring Greenland. And then we have the fact that he's willing to perhaps have some sort of military incursion to retake the Panama Canal. And then we have him bombing in Somalia. And there was 185 strikes on Somalia during Trump's first term. Biden continued with 48 strikes, and now we have Trump in there again, 16 strikes so far in 2025 in Somalia. So there's a nice little war brewing there. And one difference is now that Trump has given the officers in the field the right to pick and choose whether they're going to engage the enemy in Somalia. So we won't even have to go up to the chain of command. They have field authorization to take any military actions they want in Somalia. So there's some military actions going on there. And then, of course, we have this war in Yemen. And this is a conflict that's been going on for decades now, that started with the attacks by Saudi Arabia on Yemen. And then the United States has been active in airstrikes in Yemen ever since. And of course, we support the Saudi Arabian effort as well. And it hasn't really changed the quotient. We have the Houthis in Yemen that are raising hell in the Red Seas, attacking ships, and just another strike in Israel today by the Houthis. So all this bombing by the Trump administration, the Biden administration, hasn't really changed the quotient there. But they're really up in the game, as we've talked about. The conflict with Yemen is turning into a real war now. 200 strikes on Yemen. And then we also have Trump talking about military action with this land dispute between Venezuela and Guyana over the Essequibo region. And so there's multiple opportunities for Trump, who is supposedly the peace president, to engage in military action, whether it's a war or not. It's still a lot of military actions. Then we also have airstrikes going on in Syria as well. So the plate is full. There's plenty of military actions going on. And it doesn't really look like Trump is the peace president. And that was one of the things I did like about him. And it seems like he would like to step away from a lot of military actions. But instead, we see a ramping up of military actions. And I understand the rationale and the realpolitik. He definitely has some legitimate claims as far as reining in the Houthis and their actions in the Red Sea and against Israel. And then he has the idea that somehow he's going to finish it by these massive airstrikes on Yemen. We shall see. But it looks like, as I've stated before, Trump doesn't really have any problems using the military. And it looks like a possible bombing of Iran could be coming up. And that's something I predicted for 2025. I didn't think it would really happen that soon. We also have confirmation that by people in Israel that the United States is coordinating with them to line up a possible series of strikes on Iran, and they'll be substantial ones. And of course, anybody that's watching the news is seeing that a lot of U.S. forces are being massed in that region for that kind of action. So we'll see if Iran backs down, comes to the negotiating table. It doesn't look like it so far, but anyway, so much for the peace president, huh? I'm a useful idiot. Don't you be one too.